So our next speaker is the Global Agile and DevOps Coaching COP lead for Avanade. With 25 years in project management and a decade in Agile coaching, Christopher's passion is transformation. He's a people-centric and product-centric leader who not only teaches agility and design thinking, but also performs stand-up comedy across Europe, which is awesome, so we might get some jokes. He's here to help us free your mind, and the rest will follow. Let's make some noise and give a huge welcome to Christopher May.
Thank you. Okay, I have to adjust with the microphone. Okay. Good, yeah, thank you. Welcome to my talk. I will talk a bit about deleting your backlog. My background is basically, most of it was already mentioned, but maybe some other small facts. I'm based out of Berlin, Germany. I have a daughter living there. Yeah, and I have a background in project management and international business. And yeah, I always say, well, you have to know the enemy, so I know project management quite well as well, and also teach that if someone needs to know that. So yeah, and as he said, I'm also doing stand-up comedy, mostly in Berlin, but also sometimes around. But today I will talk to you about deleting your backlog. And basically, what I will try to cover is that I will talk a bit about the problem with overfilled backlogs, that I want to introduce the concept of deleting your backlog and how you implement it, and well, some kind of tips and tricks or yeah, something to take on with you. And well, if there's time, we'll do a Q&A. Let's see how much I get into talking. So basically, what happens on a regular basis in projects, and well, I'm not better because somehow we teach in Agile the people to use the backlog and capture everything that they come across, and then, well, the usual process, refining and so on. But basically what happens, you blow up your backlog at some point because it just gets full, and so you have to get rid of that. And so basically, let's quickly think about the backlog to start with. Yeah. So basically, yeah, the backlog is a prioritization tool. Yeah, you prioritize tasks, features, requirements, and everything that a team needs to work on. Yeah, not essentially development teams, but well, we are coming from there. So. Basically, we have a product backlog and we have a sprint backlog if we are working in Scrum. If we're working in Kanban, we at least have a prioritized list of things that need to be done next. And we want to have this prioritization because this gives us focus and we can take the right decisions on creating value. And it creates a certain degree on visibility so that everyone that is not part of the team, but also the team has clarity on and visibility on what's upcoming, basically. And it also should help to promote collaboration. That's the idea of it. Let's talk quickly about ownership. Yeah, I believe everyone knows what a product owner is, so I won't go into detail there. But if we look into management, yeah, we have to talk about what ownership means. Yeah. And basically, ownership talks about taking over a certain degree on initiative, to bring topics forward, accountability, that I'm also responsible for these topics, that I want to solve certain problems. I want to improve continuously as well. It also belongs to that we want to take decisions, and well, taking ownership of a new topic also means we're taking risks. And this is very important. And many, especially large enterprises, try to avoid this kind of risk-taking and so on, and that makes the whole thing very complicated. And basically that leads to the pile of garbage that I call our backlog is growing over time. So we start with a small backlog, and it will grow and grow, even though we are working on it to try to get value created along the way. Yeah, but if you capture everything, you can't, all the ideas that are floating around, you can't do all the stuff. And so this will grow. And at some point, well, you have a big dumpster fire at the end. Yeah? The big pile of garbage we have to get rid of it somehow. And so what are the consequences? Yeah? If we look at stakeholders and product owners, for example, there is a certain psychological burden. Yeah? You have to be good in backlog management. Yeah? And if the backlog is just huge, you just push it forward. Yeah? And you can't handle this anymore. So there's a psychological barrier that you have. Yeah? And maybe product owners are overburdened with that. Yeah? They are overworked. They overlook things. They are overlooked in their importance in their role. And all these things, yeah, are a burden, basically. Yeah? And basically, we also create hidden costs. Yeah? So we have outdated and irrelevant information in the backlog. Yeah? And that means we waste time with it. We might invest effort into it, especially in meetings when we refine it, if we have no clear control if this is still important or not. We have to switch between contexts quite often because of the different topics that are in there. And basically, this also leads to reduced focus. Yeah? And basically, the more you have, the harder it gets to take decisions. Yeah? Especially if one department wants one thing and the other one wants the other thing, and you want to please everyone, but you can't decide what is really more important. And if you ask a business, what's the most important thing? Everything is important. No one really wants to prioritize or say, okay, my thing is not the most important one. So the risk is just increasing on what's actually important, and that we are missing certain things on our roadmap, so to say. But it's also a burden for the teams and the team's performance. Yeah. So a big backlog also means, lots of disorganization. We might miss deadlines because we oversee things or don't take care of things. Maybe it also leads to poor quality in the work we are doing, and basically poor quality, lots of bugs. Or bad feedback always leads to a lower team morale, but also frustration. And if we talk about software development, with more bugs, this also leads to more rework, and we have more maintenance to do at the end. So basically, if we have a large backlog, that can mean that teams are losing the ability to focus on the high priority tasks, if this is not clear for everyone. And the more stuff there is, the harder it is to see as well. And it can lead to that teams are ineffective to prioritize. And with that, we will have delays because we are not focusing on the right things. This also always means we are not delivering the right value. If we talk about agility itself, there we have the efficient prioritization. We might not be aligned on the strategic level in the right way. If we produce slow or the wrong things, this also means we get delayed feedback. We miss opportunities to jump on the right thing. So if we talk about AI and we are not prioritizing a topic like that, then we miss maybe a business opportunity in the future. But this also leads to that we have the wrong metrics, maybe, or reporting that is not giving the right data and the right information about what the team and the product is actually achieving. And usually, if management gets the idea, well, the team is not delivering, well, they try to tend to fall back to old habits, yeah? Trying to implement reportings that are more from the project management side and are not showing real success value that is created, and that leads to reduced agility, and basically you have to see that this whole process, with a big backlog that is growing and growing, this is kind of a flow breaker. And now I have to say, flow breaker, I have this wonderful picture that looks very professional that I drew by hand. Basically, if we talk about agility, we always talk about flow. If we look at the Scrum process or even Kanban, it's a nice flow through. The value is created by flowing through the system. If we talk about Kanban, the work item flows through the system. But if we are looking at that, basically a backlog means that we are breaking the flow. Because the new requirements come in, they fall into our dumpster, which we call backlog, and at some point it comes maybe out and continues in the flow. So we are breaking the flow. So basically, we are focusing on the actual delivery, but we are not looking at the upstream. So what happens before we start with the delivery? And this is something that we have to take care of. So if we look at the product backlog itself, there are so many things where we can have problems and pitfalls. We have there will be always unfinished tasks. There's rarely something completed because focus shifts, new things get more important, someone screams the loudest, the hippo principle, the highest paid person in the room. So if someone screams the loudest, then this person gets what they want. Everything is out of, everything is out of control. We just collect more and more things. Basically, everyone can give us stuff because that's what we teach in Agile. The product backlog is a collection of all things that can be relevant in the future. But that also leads to that we are wasting time. So basically, we have unused items there. It's growing and growing. Planning might get more and more inefficient if there's no control about it. So we need to clean that. We have to rethink how we manage a backlog, and we have to improve planning with that. We spend lots of time in meetings that are like grooming sessions, but if we are grooming the wrong stuff, or spending too much time on things that are not relevant, then we are basically wasting also time. And basically many ideas just die in the backlog, if you want to say so. Because they end up there and no one focuses on it. Maybe I get a great idea, I put it on the backlog, but then it just is overseen because it's item 7,894 on the list. And this can just be avoided if we have a certain degree on prioritization. So we have to have a better system of taking care of the backlog. So let's talk about deleting the backlog. So what do I think is deleting your backlog? So basically you can see this as a spring cleaning. So basically take the backlog, do a reset and set the focus right. For that it's important that a company needs to have a clear strategy on where a product or needs to go. And if you are not doing Agile in a product development, then a department needs to have a strategy that you're working for, so that you can align the stuff that is important in the backlog with the strategy, so that the value that you're creating is really focused on fulfilling the strategy that the company has. So we focus on the essential things, and but that also means we have to leave the comfort zone. So collecting it and just doing our thing is comfortable, but leaving it and being bold to say, okay, we get rid of everything and start from scratch, that's leaving the comfort zone. Yeah. So, but that also means we are having more room for innovation. Yeah. We are cleaning up our house, so there's room that we can put in new stuff. Yeah. And we have to embrace feedback. Yeah. Feedback culture is a essential thing, and it needs to be learned. Yeah. It's not only presenting what we have done and getting applause, but also getting feedback and valuable information of what really would help the business as well. Yeah. So basically, the backlog is just part of our product at the end. Yeah. It's ever evolving, and we have to take care of that. This is happening. So why it is good? So why is it good to clear the backlog? Yeah, to delete the backlog. Yeah. So we can clear everything where it's not clear why we are doing it, what we are doing, or who needs it. Yeah. We can consolidate basically. Yeah. If we are not touching it, then we should delete it. Yeah. So the focus is on getting things done, making room for innovations. I mentioned that before. If it's not part of the product plan, yeah, with that connected to the strategy, then we can delete it as well. Yeah. Basically, free your mind, free your soul, innovate yourself. Yeah. So the backlog should help the teams, the company to stay innovative as well. So basically, the idea of this concept is pretty clear. We should focus on value. Yeah. We need to prioritize feedback loops and learn what our customers that we are working for actually need, and understand them and understand their needs. Sometimes they don't know, we don't know, so we have to figure out a way of experimentation and so on to figure this out and help our customers to understand what they need. To give you a practical example, we had a research and development project and talked to the department and asked them how the perfect solution would look like for them. And when they started to describe their perfect solution, it was basically an Excel table embedded in a website. That was their approach of a perfect solution, because they didn't know anything else. Yeah? So we have to give them the opportunity of embracing, trying out new stuff, yeah, and being more creative. Yeah, we have elements in agility like design thinking that really help as well to understand what our customers need and get the imagination a step further. Yeah. Basically, we have to integrate the backlog into the value flow, yeah? Meaning basically everything that goes into the backlog is part of the value flow. So we should see that the value that we have in the backlog is aligned with everything that we have in the company, strategy, product plan, and so on. Yeah? For that, well, that's the hard part. We have to identify value streams. We have to identify lead times. How long does it take from the idea to the actual implementation? Yeah. Do we have a product plan in the company? Yeah. Do we have a business strategy where our product is contributing to? Yeah. And that is lots of work for a product owner. And for that, I want to talk about the village concept, which is basically, I don't know if you know this saying in German, it is translated to, it takes a village to raise a child. Sorry, I miss an E there. But the idea is clear. It's not just the parents that can take care of a child and raise it. It usually takes more people. Meaning, it's not only the product owner that can take care of the product and let the product bloom to a perfect child or grown up at some point. It takes more people. And if you look into standard concepts that are there, so I do a little excursion towards SAFe, and I don't want to say that SAFe is the greatest thing at all. Yeah, But they actually have that, and I call it the Holy Trinity in product development, because they have business owners, they have product management, and they have product owners. Yeah, meaning they distribute the workload and they distribute the responsibilities. Yeah, so the business owner have to give the business context and the vision. Yeah, so that we understand the bigger picture. Yeah, the product management, well, is more responsible for the overall thing, yeah? Market research, defining a product strategy, and make sure that the value for the whole solution is delivered. And the product owners focus on their thing, yeah? They are responsible for the team backlog, and for that, they are responsible for that their team is creating value. Yeah? So that his team, well, not in a hierarchical order, but the team that is working with this product owner together is creating value in every iteration. Yeah? And for that, he can get feedback and apply that and basically learn from this input that the product owner just gets from users, from business, and so on. And that leads also to new ideas and innovative ideas and value that helps our customers at the end. And this is something that we can just apply here on a small level. If we are not talking about SAFe, yeah, basically there's a village in product development as well. Yeah. So there should be someone that owns the value that the team develops, yeah, that the team guarantees, that the team commits to every sprint. Yeah. So the product owner itself, and you should have someone that owns the value that the solution should bring. So bit on a bigger level, on a bigger scale. Yeah. So we should think about collective product leadership. Yeah. So that's the idea there. Working together, everyone contributes their part and contributes to the overall solution. So the benefits there, again, it's psychological and efficient. Yeah, we reduce the stress for the product owner itself, because the product owner doesn't have to have the whole overview about everything. Yeah, the product owner focuses maybe on one role. Yeah, and there's a different person that focuses on the other role. Yeah. So with this reduced stress, you can also focus on the high priority tasks, the things that bring value the most or direct. Yeah. You can also address outdated and irrelevant tasks, yeah, so by getting rid of them. We already said, focus on high value items that we create. Basically, it also helps for emergent architecture. Yeah, we have a minimalistic backlog, yeah, and this grows in the right direction, and with that, the architecture grows in the direction that is actually needed. And that also helps team agility, yeah, responsiveness. If the backlog is not too big, we can focus on new things coming in. The morale improves, yeah, and it reduces stress. I call it minimalistic backlog approach. Yeah. So how would we do that? How do we implement that? So the approach would be the following. Yeah, so you can call it spring cleaning or whatever, or you call it purge. Yeah, so get rid of everything. Yeah, so that we can create transparency, can create room for growth and new innovative ideas. Yeah. Then we should align our product with the company, meaning we need to understand the business strategy. We need to understand value streams in the company or identify them if they are not there. We should have a product plan. We should know what the idea of the product is in the future. This can change. We all know that, yeah, and that's totally fine. But we have to have a picture for right now to the foreseeable future. If we learn more, things change, that's normal. But if the product backlog itself is sleeker, then adaptation is also easier. And basically, we have to constantly align our product plan with the business strategy if this is all still going in the same direction. When we start from scratch, well, we can do a new approach in prioritization. If we understand prioritization better and we don't have to go through everything that is collected over years, then we can make a clean start. Then we can start to collect input. Things that come up can get into the backlog again. If we forget about things, they might not be important. And then there should be a culture of spring cleaning implemented as well. So it is not just doing it once, but it's doing it continuously on a regular basis. Maybe not every week, but to be true to yourself, you should implement this as a culture and really take a hard look at everything. Well, so the radical solution would be, well, delete your backlog. Everything, doesn't matter. Everything that is important will resurface. So if I have a good idea, well, it will come up again. And then we can focus on what really matters. However, don't be stupid. Maybe not delete it right away, but store a backup somewhere. But getting it, the important thing is getting it out of the focus of the team and everyone. So taking the data out, store the Excel export somewhere, that you have a backup for anything, but you can delete everything else then. And then things will resurface anyways. You need a product plan or a vision. And this should be separate from the backlog. So that we are not mixing up everything. We should use tools that are available for discovery to find out what we actually need. And I mentioned that something like design thinking is helping discovery. But, well, there's AI now, lots of new tools that help you to improve as well. So use them, utilize them. Workshops, use the power of swarm intelligence, use the people that are there, that are using the products, that have maybe ideas. Focus on a strategy, and then you can consider the effort that it takes versus the value, product goals, roadmaps, and so on. And prioritize the stuff. There are lots of prioritization frameworks that you can use, but, well, you can use a simple framework, for example, now, next, later, for example, as a strategic tool. Going into this quickly, so now are the topics that we need to focus on right now. So within the next 30 days. Next would be something a bit more thinking about midterm up to 90 days. So if we talk about SAFe again here, then we have a quarterly planning, PI planning, that would be like 90 days in advance. Later, everything that doesn't have a certain timeline, that we would do at some time. It's a very simple framework to do. If you are can't decide on a certain value, and if you look into other frameworks where you have to assign numbers, it might get even more complicated, and you have to find the people to take the decision on what value actually means, but this can help to get clarity there as well. And it can't be everything now. Team has a certain capacity. They can't do everything right away. At the end, you don't need a big framework for having a prioritization, but you have to start somewhere and define the rules on how to prioritize. and it can't be Hippo or the one that screams loudest, whoever that is. I'm working in consulting, so I see lots of customers where there's one person that screams, well, I need this feature right away, as soon as possible. And then if you look to a bit more into details there, it's basically one guy that is doing once a year a report that is very tedious to do by hand, but it brings no real value except that he is, well, maybe reducing his workload for that from 6 hours to 5 minutes, but no one else in the company has a value from it. So really look into what value actually means. So with that product, collective product leadership. We talked about the accountability split. So one that owns the value that the team guarantees, so what gets delivered in the next iteration, and one that owns the value that is guaranteed by the solution, so the overall plan, where maybe also more teams contribute to. And basically split ownership and split accountability is already part of Agile. Well, the Scrum Master is the impediment gatekeeper and owns the process. The team is the quality gatekeeper. Well, and then we have product leadership, one that is the value gatekeeper of the solution, and the second one, the value gatekeeper for the team. So what does ownership means? Which rules are applied there? At the end, we still have one owner of the team backlog, and that's the product owner. But it should be clear that there's a transparency on the needs. The company has, the product has, the customers have. That should be clear, and that should be transparent to everyone. And we should use our events that we actually have anyways to also resolve any conflicts that we have. We can have these discussions when we have refinement sessions and talk about things. If someone says, my thing has the highest priority because all the clients want it, and the other one says the same, well, let's get together, discuss that, clarify it, and come to a common conclusion. At the end, if we split a team in the middle, and one half is doing one focus topic and the other one is doing the other focus topic, this might lead to that nothing gets done in a sprint. So prioritization. And at the end, I lost my point. So basically, we have to keep in mind that if we are talking about iterations, they are all short. So basically, we are just planning for a short amount of time, and we are not moving a requirement from someone else into the next year. We are just saying, okay, we prioritize now in the next maybe 1 or 2 sprints on one topic, and then we can reprioritize and take a look at the next topic. So we are not talking about delaying something for years. We are just talking about month, maybe, maximum. So basically, the product owner's role has to change a bit. The responsibilities need to be split down a bit, so that the product owner can focus, or the several product leadership people can focus, and basically moving this upstream. So basically taking decisions already earlier and implementing gatekeepers further upfront in the process. So if we take the village again, the product leadership that takes care of the value of the solution is the gatekeeper in a step further to the front, yeah, upstream at the end. And you can have a RACI matrix or something like that, dividing the responsibilities and making this clear as well. So, achieving long-term success with a lean backlog. Maybe some good practices for driving a team to best outcomes. Yeah, so something to take as a takeaway as well. Limit work in progress. Yeah? Focus on special topics with the highest value. Yeah, so you can optimize the efficiency. Focus on the work that brings the maximum value to our customers at the end. Yeah, and it doesn't really matter if the customer is the customer that buys a solution or the customer is internal or whatsoever. Yeah. We have to understand this customer, whoever that is. Alignment with the enterprise strategy, yeah, and being transparent about the things that we have actually, if they are aligned or if they are not aligned. Yeah, there might be things that have to be done in the background that are not clearly stated in a strategy, but you have to be transparent on what you have there. Yeah. Understand capacity better, yeah, so that you can learn how to estimate better and so on, so that you can really make assumptions about time. Yeah? We all know that this is not an exact science, estimation and capacity planning and so on, but it gives you an idea if you understand where your team is. Yeah? We have now summer holidays coming up. We have over Christmas a certain downtime period. These are things we can consider. Yeah? And good teams come to a stage where they can make estimations on when they will run out of work. So now my safe example again, I had a team, they were able to predict in PI planning that they have work for 5 sprints or 4 sprints, and then they will run out of work. So 2 months ahead, and the product management could take care of that and solve that. So it just takes time at the end. There must be time reserved for things like, in this case, I wrote non-roadmap tasks, patches, outages, urgent things that just happen. Yeah, maintenance needs to be taken care of, especially if you talk about DevOps. Always focus on high quality. Yeah, that's basically everywhere in Agile. And we should get into an environment where the team can develop a certain constant pace. Yeah? If we talk about Scrum, sprint doesn't mean we are quick. We are just working constantly and constantly delivering. We have to be aware of that we have this certain churn, that people leave, people come, new people come, we have to onboard them. The traditional forming, norming, storming, performing process happens if we change team setups as well. And for that, we have to consider that performance will go down for a certain time till it picks up again. And well, use tools to make everything visible that we have. Use the tooling that is out there. And basically, we have to establish a certain discipline when it comes to backlog management. So we have to regularly review the backlog. We have to always continuously improve as well. So figuring out new things to do to maintain the backlog. But we also should be willing to make radical changes at some points. So dropping stuff that is in there, if it's not coming back, well, it was a good thing to delete. If it comes back, then it has a certain value, or a certain value is seen, and then we can prioritize that. Implement continuous feedback. always important in whatsoever way. You can measure data, you can ask your customers, but just here on the one that is screaming the loudest. Yeah? And then implement radical prioritization. Clear prioritization frameworks, clear prioritization rules that everyone is just applying. And then continuously optimize your backlog. There are so many prioritization frameworks that you can use. Always keep in mind, everything we are doing for a customer. We have a customer, and this person should be first. We are not just working for ourselves. We are having a customer that we want to make happy. We always should keep in mind that we want to create value. That's a radical focus on value. Then we can use, there are so many prioritization frameworks. So I talked about now, next, later. There's Eisenhower matrix, Moscow, value versus effort matrix, and so on. If you're familiar with SAFe, then weighted shortest jobs first, so on and so on. If this is too complicated, you can always, or to abstract for management or whatsoever, you can always go back to things that we know from traditional management, production, and whatsoever. First in, first out. Why not? If you can't determine value for the things that you're doing, or last in, first out, or all the other things that are there. Theory of constraints. There are so many things that you can use, and basically they can help you just justify the decision to focus on certain things and focus on value. So, what to delete again as a wrap up? If it's not clear why we have it in the backlog, or from whom it came, or what it's all about, well, then delete it. If the team can't remember why there's something, well, then there may be no value to keep it as well. Maybe some things are outdated. So if we have a regular review, we can come to the conclusion that these things need to go. But we should also have clear criteria for the cleanup. So it should be clear what we can clean up. And this should be also transparent as everything. So my conclusion, so we should start at some point with delete your backlog, some kind of purge. Then we should align strategically. Then we need a prioritization session. For that, we need fixed rules, so it's clear how we prioritize. Then we can collect further input. You will see important things will resurface at that point, and then you should implement something like a regular spring cleaning. Then it's not that drastic for now. And that's basically everything that I wanted to talk about today. You find me on LinkedIn. My contact data is there as well if you have any question. And you can ask questions right now as well. There's the microphone. Please feel free to ask them. And if you provide feedback, the link to the session here as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we've got time for a few questions. Does anyone have any questions for Christopher around removing your backlog or spring cleaning? Oh, I struggle with that one. Oh, there's a question.
Hi there, my name is Alex. I actually have two questions in one. On one of the previous slides, you mentioned that we need strict rules so criteria for the cleanup. Yeah, so which means that not every single backlog item should be deleted. And you stated or mentioned that there should be a regular full cleanup. Is it a separate approach which should be taken, which should take place during this cleanup? I mean, should we do full cleanup with deleting everything, and in the meantime, on sprint planning sessions or backlog refinement sessions, we need also spend some time on removing the items by criteria, like outdated items without no owner items, etc. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for the question. Good point. I mean, you have to start at some point and just get rid of everything, because usually there are no criterias on how you would take this decision. But then you should implement. Does this laser pointer actually work? Yeah. You should implement certain rules, yeah, for that, yeah. And then in the future, you don't need to be radical anymore, yeah. Probably, if we are honest, yeah, it's a bold statement to say delete all. Probably there are a certain amount of stories that are very valuable in the backlog that are used and in progress or planned for the near future that probably will stay. Yeah, but you should create a certain rule set on where you make this clear what to delete. Yeah, and basically, if someone puts something on the backlog and says, "I would like to see that," and I'm not refining that in the future, well, then probably this is something that I can at some point delete. I don't have to do that every sprint, but at least on a regular basis, yeah, maybe once a quarter, maybe every half a year or whatever, really look at the things that are on the bottom of the backlog, yeah, and get rid of them. So we have to be radical once, definitely, to start with it, and then we have to just implement the rule sets, yeah, that are clear and transparent for everyone, so that they can apply it and everyone understands. So if I have an idea for you as a product owner, and you put it on the backlog, and you tell me, okay, the rules for that are that you provide the certain input, yeah, why it's valuable, what you need, what you expect from it, what the users really value about that, and I'm not bringing that, well, then it's probably not important. Yeah.
Fantastic. Another question.
Thank you. My name is Alice Gill. What would be your recommendations if you have a product manager who's joined a team that are new and are new to having a product manager, and they have typically owned their own backlog and they're really, really against the idea of someone coming in and deleting everything? What would, if your engineering team's giving you pushback, what would be your recommendations to a product manager who might think could be a good idea to clear it up? What would be your recommendations?
Do you mean the team pushes back or the product manager pushes back? Team. Well, I mean, basically, you can always ask the question, do you actually know what item 3565 on the backlog mean? Yeah. Or is it clear for you why it's there and why it's down there? And is it really bringing value to the product at the end? Yeah. And usually you should come to the point where the people realize that we are just pushing forward the clutter, and basically the garbage pile grows and grows, to use this picture from the beginning again. So it just helps to keep an overview. If the idea resurfaces at the end, so if number 20,544 is resurfacing, then there is probably a value. But it's on the bottom of the backlog and no one talked about it for probably quite a long time after it was created. So then it's valuable to put it on again, and that's fine. We don't have to delete all the ideas that existed, but we have to have a clear Backlog to have a free, free your mind, clear your head, and start from scratch at some point.
Fantastic. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for with questions. But if you want to grab Christopher afterwards, feel free to do so. So yeah, and another round of applause for Christopher. Thank you.
Thank you.
And feel free to...